Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License, flight number 57, with service to the 70s. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember, do the hustle. Oh, boo. Well, welcome to the TV Pilot's License. Hey. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. How are you boys doing today?
Oh, you know it's Max's week to pick the show when you're getting a 6-episode reality TV clunker.
Rich, how are you?
I am excited. Two things. I was going to surprise you both by doing the podcast song, but do a podcast. And the other one, Jeff, I was wondering if you were going to do our destination as a place and time, which is amazing because I think we're just in the Valley again. If anyone's I think if anyone's like keeping score at home, I would say probably 50% of our shows have taken place in the Valley.
Yeah, half of this show takes place at a public high school in Monrovia this week. Like, this is not our most glamorous production.
Oh my gosh. Well, gentlemen, this week we are talking about MTV's The 70's House. Before we dive too deep into this show that existed, Max, do you mind telling folks what this show is all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn a little bit more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and make us want to watch more, and if we think they could be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes wherever you get your podcasts from. Check us out on YouTube to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And if you're tuning in from the 70's,
smoke on this flight.
If you're tuning in from the 70's, tell us how.
Oh my God. Rich, do you have a question of the week this week?
I'm actually going to save it for a little bit. I think I definitely want to get your guys' like real assessment of this show, but only once we explain the premise, because I had never heard of the show at all. I don't know if this was like a response to that 70's show, if it's like if people started doing reunions like the Partridge Family, or just like some sort of 70's TV show thing that was like indicative of 2005. But let's go to the creation of the show and the premise, so I can hear you guys' true assessment.
Yeah. Before we talk about the creation of the show, the synopsis, I did want to just say we are recording this on the eve before the WGA strike is set to end, and want to just congratulate those who are members of the WGA on, hey, successful strike. The deal looks amazing, and can't wait for SAG-AFTRA to hopefully get a very similar deal as well.
Regular listeners of ours know we don't record these with any rhyme or reason or schedule or agenda, so you're going to hear this a little bit after a resolution's happened. But yeah, just way to freaking go to everyone who pounded the pavement, held the line, did so much incredible work all summer long. It's been an arduous 4 months, but there's some really great stuff in this contract that hopefully makes writing a real viable profession for those who are fortunate enough to work in this industry. And yeah, just congratulations to every WGA member, to the work that strike captains, to negotiated committee. Thank you to Drew fucking Carey for picking up a $500,000 tab at 2 local diners here in Los Angeles.
Cleveland really does fucking rock.
Wait, should we do we need to do the Drew Carey show?
Probably.
Drew Carey, primary Karen Bass, become the mayor. Do it.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm super excited about this deal. Whoever put in the provision that I get a sweet green salad every day, I love you. Thank you so much. It was probably Adam Conover.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm super sorry about the Geoff provision where I talk about how I know TV writers at every meal, but it's now multiplied by 5. So I'm required by WGA standards to say 15 times in every meal. Sometimes that's just to myself when I'm eating alone, and it's really
He's
weird.
A union man.
Yeah, do you want a contribution to your pension or not?
Wow, they really did prove that the pen is mightier than the sword. Very impressive. I never thought about that until right now.
There we go.
Can you hear the head shake by Max on audio? Because I can.
With that being said, just so to clear up any confusion, we are going to continue to do non-stricken work on this podcast until SAG-AFTRA does get their fair deal as well. And what better way to get to celebrate the WGA's end of their strike than doing MTV's The 70's House? A quick synopsis. 12 modern kids are taken and put in a house where they live like they're in the 1970s. Sure. Yeah, cool. I think that is exactly almost what we watched. Max, how did this get made?
Today we're talking about the premiere of MTV's The 70's House, titled Welcome to the 70's, which aired on July 5th, 2005. I'm not going to lie, there's not a whole lot of information about this show. Looks like Viacom tried to bury it pretty deep, but it is the brainchild of a writer and producer by the name of Aaron Matthew Lee. Prior to 70's House, Lee worked a lot in the MTV VH1 sphere as a consultant on things like the VH1 Big In Name of Year Awards, VH1 Music Awards, Teen Choice Awards, served as a writer on things like the Primetime Emmys and the MTV Movie Awards. Since then, though, since 70's House, the apparent launching pad for Aaron Matthew Lee's career, this guy has become a writer and supervising producer and executive producer on shows like The New Normal, The Cleveland Show, Family Guy, Superstore, Duncanville, and more. Apparently, this is all it took was the 70's House, because it not only launched Aaron Matthew Lee, it also apparently launched the career of frickin' Natasha Leggero, who we're going to talk about a whole lot in this. Someone who's done so well for themselves in the 18 years since the 70's House. But, oh God, Geoff is like pulling at his eyelids right now. Is anyone stoked to do this? Is anyone?
Low-key, I am so excited to dive into this show. Before we take a deeper dive, a quick word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Erica.
And I'm Cassandra.
And we're the hosts of Trashy Trashy.
We're a podcast filled with trashy news stories and garbage people.
Did you leave the scene of an accident to go tanning?
Do you refer to wearing the strap down on your Crocs as sports mode?
Have you ordered Domino's online before they even open in the morning?
Are you switching the same AAA batteries from your TV remote to your vibrator instead of just buying more batteries?
Or are you normal?
Check us out wherever you download podcasts.
Welcome back. Let's take a trip back in time to the 1970s and the 1970s, or the 70's House, excuse me.
Get it right.
This show is insane.
Yeah.
Like, let's just talk about this premise a little bit. The premise of you are taking 12 kids in 2004 when they filmed this and taking away all forms of technology, clothing, how they even talk, and then putting them in a house that is, first of all, wonderful in the sense that that house now costs $5 million. But also the idea that that house is stuck in the 1970s as a whole. As we see these different kids roll in, all somewhere between like 18 and 22, what were your thoughts other than I was brought back to the idea of, oh, this is what teenagers looked like in 2004?
So when I created the concept for my PhD thesis in psychology while studying at Cal Berkeley, I never envisioned that it would be picked up by MTV, and I just want to say thank you for bringing this vision to life.
The only thing that I've garnered so far from the introduction to the show, all these kids walking in who seemingly have no personality yet, maybe they get some later in the season, but the main conflict seems to be decor. Like, they're like, oh, I can't live in that house, it's too old. And I'm like, that's not enough. That's not enough of a conflict for me to be like, oh, this is a compelling TV show. I'm super curious what it was for you, Max. But
Yeah, all these kids live in pre-war apartments. They can't be complaining about the decor of this house.
Which war?
The things that blow my mind are, so I think the show could be made today because they introduced them all by their name and their astrological sign.
Yeah,
so
which is great.
This is very
So
2023. The fashion. We just need to talk about the tracksuits, the skater gear. There's a dude named Ruben who comes in rocking the brimmed beanie, and I definitely had a brimmed beanie around 2005.
I wanted a brim beanie so badly.
Well. You didn't. Let me tell you right now, from 2023, you didn't want it. The hero for me is there's a girl named Ashley. She's a Virgo, and she walks into 70's house, and she says that she's a hippie at heart, but she's wearing this matching tracksuit set and has these big clear sunglasses, and she looks like every single club girl who wanted to be Paris Hilton at this time.
So, I wrote down in my notes, Ashley's gonna win.
The one piece, we've done so many of these shows that are around 2002 to 2006 when they were made, and the one piece of clothing we have yet to see is I have yet to see a piece of sweatpants with rhinestones on the ass that say some provocative word juicy. But one of the other things that I'm very direct. One of the things that I was so excited to see in the beginning of this was we do have a host by the name of Bert Van Styles, played by Bill Dwyer. I was so fucking pumped to see Bill Dwyer in this show. I was not expecting it, but I was just this out of nowhere, almost in this weird upside down universe where they don't care what the people say, they're just going to keep on hosting the show, was wonderful.
I know we're all TV fans. If you're listening to this podcast, you're also a TV fan. I think the most niche thing we've said in over a year of doing this show is I was so fucking stoked to see Bill Dwyer.
What really sold it for me was that tiny little Bob Barker microphone. Those are the best. That was, you know what I'm talking about? The really, really thin ones. Oh, take me back.
Oh yeah. If I could have a very consistent one of those to do this podcast on, I would 100% do that.
I'll find you one on
all
Amazon
the time.
right now.
I'm just relieved that Bert Van Styles didn't try and kiss all the women when they came in.
Oh no, a hug is much more appropriate. That lasts 5 seconds too long. But Bert Van Styles is not the only character or actor that's playing a character in this house. We also have Dawn, played by aforementioned Natasha Leggero. How excited were we to see, in current day, Natasha Leggero is in some cases, a household name as far as a stand-up comedian goes. But at this point in time, this was sort of the first biggest thing that she's done. And I was really excited to see Natasha Leggero not just do stand-up, but actually just go full in on this 1970s mom-esque character that's setting the tone and setting the rules of the house.
Which is so weird because she's at most 23.
It is the first line in her IMDb bio, so clearly this means a lot to her. This is something that's still very important to her, that 18 years later, it's the first line there. There's a moment when she's kind of setting up the game, when she's setting up the premise for the cast, when they're in the common area, the sitting room. Why there's not a conversation pit, I'll never know, probably a budget thing. And she's talking about things from that era they won't have in the 70's house. And she kind of lifts up her dress a little bit and touches her thigh when she says George W. Bush. And it's the most bonkers action choice to do I've ever seen. That was a moment where it's she's in. I get why it's her. That's such a specific choice.
Yeah, I think she also embodies the 70s spirit because I've definitely seen her smoking weed outside the Comedy Store, and that's just what's more 70s than that.
So a couple things that were on my mind at the beginning of this pilot. One, I think we all got a view into how MTV casts some of these reality shows, right? Because all of these contestants were talking about, oh, I was expecting to be on the beach. Or one person said, I was expecting to be on a beach in the woods, which I'd like to know what beach she's talking about.
One of the guys just flat out said, I thought this was Road Rules, which makes me think that they just told them they were going on Road Rules.
But that fucking rules.
Road rules.
These teens or our contestants are competing for a prize, right? Let's just make sure we're very clear on what the rules are. They're trapped in the 1970s. They do say eat and wear. Whatever they do say eat or wear has to be from the 1970s. Mm-hmm. Their prizes, though, are modern. Or the grand prizes are in this instance. They're going to get a package from Hewlett-Packard, a 2005 Beetle convertible, and a European vacation courtesy of STA Travel, which they were very clear to make sure they mentioned who provided each of these things.
Yes.
As to not piss off the sponsors.
That's very crucial.
But it doesn't just stop there. Natasha Leggero's Dawn really drives these competitors through the process of what they have to do. Starting off with converting slang, which I absolutely loved as funny. A little bit of an exposition as a whole.
Yeah, but she used a phrase in the 70s lingo education that I don't know. She taught them the phrase jive turkey.
Oh, and we can't say that anymore.
Whoa. This is a family podcast. You do not say JT.
No one's calling anyone a JT.
But I thought that this was just such a great way of leading our competitors through, right? We start off with the slang. Then we make them change their wardrobe entirely. I can't help but think the women got screwed as far as the wardrobe change. Because the men definitely, like, some of the stuff that the men were wearing, I was like, oh, yeah, I'd possibly wear that.
I'm wearing all of that this weekend.
Every pattern of the dresses that we saw the women wearing, I was just like, oh, yeah. Someone was just like, I hate women, and I'm going to make them hate themselves.
With the exception of one of the guys, this dude, Peter, who just does not seem to be in this at all. I don't know if he was Road Rules dude, but he wants out of this house so bad. All of the guys seem a lot more enthusiastic about the wardrobe changes and like kind of playing into the game than the girls do so far.
Okay, 100%. So we'll break this down. So that you can't have any food that's not from the 70s. You can't use any lingo that's from the 70s. Yeah, that'll be super important later. And you can't use any technology that's not from the 70s. Now, my question of the week is, knowing these rules, knowing this prize, knowing this game, how do you think you would realistically fare being a contestant on 70's House?
Oh, I'm just walking out. I'm just like, give me my day rate. I'm fucking out of here. Like, there's absolutely...
Oh, sorry, it's your 70's day rate. It's the $5.83.
You get cab fare home because you live in Studio Valley. But in all honesty, yeah, I don't think I'm doing well in this sense.
The host from Minneapolis is just making up names of LA neighborhoods now.
Yeah, that's a place now. Studio Valley. 100%. I owned 20 apartments in Studio Valley.
You're just playing Monopoly, Geoff.
Yeah. Broadway was too expensive.
I think I could do the clothes because they're provided for me. I think I could do the technology because they've taken the other things away from me. I think the lingo would kill me. I think trying to have casual conversation when there's so much downtime, because in any of these reality shows, you have to kind of become hyper fixated on what the task at hand is. So anytime you're on one of these things, they take away your phones, usually can't have access to like magazines or TVs or the internet for obvious reasons. But if I'm just trying to converse with contestants to kill time, we're playing games, we're watching old TV shows, and I can't just be myself, that would get me kicked out so quick.
I get it.
Yeah.
Go for it, Rich. I definitely think that I'm going to do okay at it. The lingo is obviously going to be pretty hard, but I do say the phrase solid a lot. So I think I'm going to do okay on that one. I think the hardest part is that not mentioning things from the internet for an entire day might kill me.
Also, the thing that none of us have mentioned, Jewish stomach was not a thing in the 1970s, so we're all fucked with the food.
I'll eat a can of Hormel chili right now. I'll do it live on air.
I think my key to success would just be talking about Steely Dan's Asia for 6 weeks straight.
That would work.
That's a good choice.
That would work. That counts.
I definitely, like, Rich, I love how you bring up, like, just talking about the internet, because the other thing that I think about is, like, you can't talk about, if we wanted to get really into this, you can't talk about modern sports scores or modern, like, sports, like, athletes at all. So if you wanted to talk about, hypothetically, the Rams, then let's talk about, I don't even know who's on the Rams at this point in time. We would be talking a lot about, like,
Still
the Green
LA,
Bay
though.
Packers and maybe the Jets. Like, that's the wild part about this.
It's 1970s. There's 8 football teams total.
Just in case the audience is curious, where does all this technology go? They have a closet that's named the 2000s closet.
That's so funny.
Which, if someone does not break into that closet during this show, during, like, the run of this series, I'm going to be upset. Like, that should absolutely be a temptation of, like, oh yeah, the door's just open. Like, you could go in there if you really want to.
And they also just put everything into a big old laundry hamper too. Natasha Leggero, as Dawn, just went around, took all of their CD players and cell phones and just put them in a hamper. That's it. That's all the security we have.
Bye.
So we should talk about, after we've gone through this transformation, we've seen the house, we go into the shag room, as they call it, which at first I was just like, mean? What type of show are we watching? But we meet our third character by the name of Oscar. In a ode to Charlie's Angels, we only hear Oscar through the phone. We will never see him. And Oscar is 100% just the producers. Like, Oscar could not more clearly.
It's actually Dane Cook. It's a big get.
Well, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Dane Cook is like 85 years old. But the Oscar sort of sets the rules. Like, there are going to, not only is the challenge living in this house, there's going to be weekly competitions that they will have to be going through. And in this instance, they're going to be playing basketball. But the goal is not winning the game. The goal is losing by the least amount of points while playing like you're in the 70s.
No, the goal is like 10 feet up. It's the thing they're throwing the balls at.
Oh my God. I'm not going to lie. When I heard this, I took it way too literally. And I was like, okay, dunking, not allowed. That was like,
they could dunk in the 70s.
Well, no, it was like outlawed for a small period of time. You couldn't dunk in basketball. It was like,
there's no 3-point line on this court.
No 3-pointer. So, like, Steph Curry's screwed. And then, like,
who?
Well, he shouldn't have been
that's true.
He shouldn't have signed up to be on this show then.
But, like, I think that having challenges like this, putting it in the real world and adding this temptation is actually a really nice twist to the show, rather than just having these teams compete against each other to see who screws up in a controlled reality.
Taking them out in public is the wild card in this, because they have to keep up all of the persona, all the illusion, keep up the lingo as we learn. And it's also like people that have to interact with them and see like how they treat them. Like, if you just keep them in the house the entire time, I think it's challenging, but not impossible. Adding the variable of everyone else out there on the outside, though, that's where it gets fun.
Yeah, it just becomes themed Big Brother in that instance. If they're just all in the house the entire time and challenging themselves and, like, playing game theory with each other. Not that I expect these competitors to be experts in game theory, but, you know, like, there's nothing really exciting about it. Rich, what's on your mind when you hear that they're going out of the house?
I mean, I think it's a smart idea. Otherwise, like, they're clearly going to go insane. I really don't think, like, they're definitely understanding that at this point, even in 2004, teenagers are severely addicted to technology. Like, I mean, even if it's just, I believe one kid said, my iPod is my sanity. That was his quote when he was entering the house. I'm like, okay, that really is 2004. But even then, I can't imagine like just being stuck in this house. I'd probably lose my mind, and they probably have a bunch of people try to quit. What I am wondering is how they got so many high school kids to show up for this game that's clearly fake on TV, and and have them like actually cheer.
Oh,
and then
Rich,
the cheer.
I know the answer.
Please.
They went to a high school. You said you want to be on MTV.
100%. Yeah, that's the easiest way of doing this.
What is it like running a high school in Los Angeles where there's just reality show producers just beating down the door every single day? They're like, please just let us take 30 of your kids out of school. We have to make up an entire Bravo lineup right now.
Just the principals, the most tired individuals. Like, I don't care. Just do what you want. Leave me alone. Take them.
No one wants to be here. I don't want to be here.
I will commend this show on, I think they did such a great job with some of the details, right? It would be very easy to phone this show's production in if you wanted to. But like things like the van versus the station wagon to get them to the game. Things like having the guys having everyone wear the super short shorts, which now are back in. Like I loved all of these small details.
The only problem is where you're supposed to find gas with lead still in it.
That's a really solid point, Rich, and that's a problem for the producers.
Thanks, President Carter.
We go through this game, right? One of these teams wins because they scored a basket. The other loses.
Yeah, they got fucking smoked.
And then we go to the shag room, our elimination room. We find out that the winning team gets a fondue party, which...
Oh, yeah. Oh, whoop.
All right. We find out, that is a good rule to add. Anytime they hear that song go off, they have to do the hustle, what a great fuck you by the producers of like, we're 100% watching all of you all the time and want you in the most compromised situation to have to meet in the living room to do this goddamn song.
From
which
the
rocks.
aptly named Hustle Alarm.
I wrote in all caps, oh my God, hustle alarm, because there's nothing that says like psychological torture, like forcing someone to dance immediately when an alarm goes off. And I know it's probably barely anything. It's probably like 30 seconds of the song that they got the license for. But good God, how often are they going to do this?
Well, all right, so we're getting sucked into 2000's house. What's the 2000s alarm?
Ooh,
Cupid Shuffle.
Cupid Shuffle's really good. To the window, to the wall. I think has to be in contention.
For me, it's the Soulja Boy signal.
Ooh, yep, that's the one. That's the one.
Well, when did Soulja Boy come out? What year was that?
Oh,
we're
I
aging
think like
ourselves.
Late aughts, I think was cranked at.
Okay, cool. If it's late aughts, absolutely. If it's 2010, fuck us all. It has to be something between the 2000 and 2010.
Jesus.
So let's talk about how this show ends, because I think this is the big glaring hole.
It ends with everyone hating pilot. Fondue.
Well, yeah. First of all, no one on this winning team has ever been to Melting Pot. Fondue can be a lovely experience. Highly recommend overpaying for hot cheese or hot oil and putting meat and bread and fruit in it. But I think that what I found interesting was how they decided who was up for elimination in this instance, right? And we basically find out, hey, cameras are on you all the time. Cameramen are definitely have a little notepad where they're keeping a checklist of like, at this moment, someone did this, and we have to review the tape here. We have to review the tape here. We have to review the tape here.
The producer truck, the producer van is working on this show.
They're buzzing out there.
But like, this is where I think this is the main fault of the show, in that we get surprised by it rather than being at home, being like keeping count ourselves. I know this was only a 22-minute pilot, right? We don't have time probably to be able to see everything that's going on. But I think there's an opportunity here to add that little bit of tension of like, oh boy, you know, Seth is screwed if his team loses, because he was talking about how he's a big fan of 50 Cent to Geo the other day. Like, that is what, like, that's a moment where I'm like, I get it, but at the same time, I'm missing that, like, the audience being like rooting for this person to win because they know they're screwed otherwise.
Yeah, I'm actually changing my answer. I'm going to do really good in this because the music I still listen to is from the 70s.
Yeah, on one hand, I get saving the elimination premise for when it comes up in real time, because it throws a wrench into it as an audience. We're like, oh, this is how the game works, which I think you need. Like, you don't want to give everything up top. But of our two people who end up in the bottom two this week, you have Andrew and Geo. Geo, we actually saw his infraction. We saw him talking about wanting to get like Botox and modern plastic surgery. Andrew, the thing that we saw was filmed with like kind of weird behind the scenes camera footage that we didn't actually see in the broadcast. And so with that, it's like, oh, okay, I guess they did this infraction. It's like, I get when you have 21 minutes plus commercials, you're not going to be able to show everything.
Yeah.
But when you don't understand why someone's up for elimination as an audience member, it makes it a little tough to care.
I guess it's also, I also have still not bought in that they care all that much. Like, I know the prizes are pretty cool. It's a car, a European vacation, and like computers.
A full computer stack up.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's a cool prize, but I'm still not, like, Natasha Leggero is acting her ass off. Like, she is doing one of the hardest things that you could possibly do, period. And that's making teenagers care about anything. And I think she's doing like really working her ass off. She's grinding for that paycheck, but I really do not feel the buy-in. And maybe all the kids who are on the show have like kind of families that are like well-to-do. Maybe that could be it. Like, they're not super bought in on it.
Yeah, in case you're curious what Rich's next podcast is, he's going to give a TED Talk of how to keep kids off your damn lawn. I am in agreement with you, Rich. I think that there needs to be bigger stakes, but at the same time, if you're MTV, you want to pay next to nothing to do this. You probably rented this house in the Valley. Studio Valley.
Studio Valley. Beautiful Studio Valley.
You from there, you also paid for all these clothes, like going to, a flea market most likely, and then you have 2 to 3 actors that you're probably paying next to nothing. Sponsors pay for all these prizes, cool, but adding that big, hey, the winner gets what's a lot of money in the 2000s, like $30,000. That's probably more than MTV was willing to part with, in all honesty. And yeah, sure, I think that potentially, and like, hey, someone gets kicked off of this first episode. As Max mentioned, both had their reasons. The way they get eliminated, though, is absolutely hysterical, in that I've never seen competitive operation before, but I was actually like, this is one of the funniest ways I've ever seen a reality TV show decide to eliminate a human being in my lifetime.
This is how we're deciding on who's doing shots this weekend. I'm bringing operation. Here's the kicker. You do 2 rounds. You're not saving anybody.
But I think that once our contestant is eliminated, and as we think that the show is over, we get our first live instance of the hustle alarm to end our episode with people
Oh, that was so
running
good.
from the shower, people running from being asleep. And I genuinely got a great giggle as this show came to
I was
an end.
really nervous it was going to start playing again when you mentioned that. So I'm on guard now. I'm on edge, waiting for it to happen.
It's coming from inside of your home, Max. But with
It's me. I played the hustle.
Play the hustle. Sorry.
With this episode coming to with this pilot ended, what were some things that you loved about it that maybe we didn't discuss?
I mean, we've mentioned her already, but I mean, the work that Natasha Leggero is doing in this is bonkers.
Yeah.
It is so committed, and she's having to sell this entire cast on just like, please buy into it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm kind of realizing as we talk about it, like you mentioned, like they just got closed at a flea market. I did a quick little bit of searching and discovered that, you know, Paramount, who owns MTV at this point, had a certain movie version of a very, very popular 70s TV action comedy released in theaters the year before this show came out. And I think they just used all of the costumes from that film adaptation for the 70s house wardrobe. I'm not going to say it, but you can piece together.
Does it rhyme with snarky and butch?
It doesn't even
rhyme
with
not
that.
technically,
No. Rich, you did a great job. It rhymes nothing like that.
Thank you so much.
Oh my god, Rich, what about you? Any things that you loved about this pilot that maybe
basketball
we didn't discuss?
shorts, dude? Basketball shorts. They had the most upsetting shots during that basketball scene. They really almost took me out of it.
Oh my god. And for me, Max, I think you really mentioned the star of this pilot in Natasha Leggero. But I genuinely I think it's very easy as a producer of a reality TV show to sort of just be like, you know what, the small details don't matter. Doing things like the car, getting the clothing, even if it might have been available because of a big movie, is appreciated. And it makes this slightly more enticing rather than being like, thanks to our sponsor, Old Navy, we have all of these clothes that sort of look like they're from the 70s. What about wait a minute moments? Anything that caused you pause?
Does anybody want to be here?
Are you talking about the three of us, or are you talking about the show?
Does anyone competing on the 70s house want to be on this show? Because I don't think they do. And this is a young competitor field. There is at least one person that we know of who has stated on air that they are 18. This is an incredibly young field of exclusively college kids, it appears. I don't think anyone wants to be doing this.
I think that's such a good point, Max, because I think that this is the time when MTV's audience was mainly like early high school to like the beginning of college. And if you went any older than that, it was like, ooh, they're old. And like, just being honest, like, let's think about some of the other shows that came out from MTV or were popular from MTV at this point in time. We had the Newlyweds with Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey. We had Real World, which I think at this point in time was like in Philadelphia. Someone fact check me on that. If I nailed it, I'm so proud of myself.
There's another show that we've covered on this podcast that makes Rich really angry.
Yeah. And like, I think that you fall into that trap of it could possibly be more interesting if you were like, hey, we have a bunch of people in their mid 20s to late 20s who have these careers and stuff like that. But the problem with those folks is they have careers in some cases. Otherwise, you could just get some actors who are also in their mid 20s.
I just don't think it could be a real 70s House of the Shag Room if there's not one creepy old guy. That's all I'm saying.
There was. He was one of the first people we saw.
And Rich, what about you? Any wait a minute moments?
Yeah, let's talk about Laguna Beach again. No, my favorite wait a minute moment, and I wrote this down. I love that we're just enough to not get sued. The one that I wrote down is Ruben was listed as currently unemployed, and also like we didn't talk about that guy just absolutely roasting some of the contestants to bits when he was doing this.
Yeah, that was Bill Dwyer was having some fun.
I was like, number one, they already don't want to be there. Number two, they thought it was a different show. Number three, they hate the prizes. Then you're gonna go shit on them like immediately. Everything about this says sex house, like the Onion like satire of real world and shows like this, and that that made me laugh so much.
Yeah, and I will say I heard my worst fondue joke I've ever heard in Fun Don't, which is just you're not even trying. So yeah,
hey, they're 18 and the writers are on strike.
That's why we need older people to be on the show. Some creativity. In-flight question, super simple. We get these from our frequent flyers on the show. But this week,
that could be simple. You. Send us questions.
Yeah, it could be. Send us questions. We'll talk a little about
anything
that
really
later. What decade would be the worst to have to live in a house and stick with the rules of that decade?
I got it.
Rich, go ahead.
The 1860s.
Max, what about you?
No further questions. No follow-ups or any comments. Just knock it out.
I mean, like, I don't want to be on like 1929 house.
I do.
I was gonna say if we could do a region and a year, I would say 1940s Germany for all three of us would be rough.
Yeah, I signed up for Dust Bowl house.
Oh God!
Hurry!
Keep dancing, goofball.
Well, thank you for that in-flight question. Let's talk about the briefest history we will ever do on this pilot. Yes, technically, this show was had a limited run on the air. There was a one season. It had 10 episodes, and MTV actually rebooted the show with the 90s House, which showed up in 2017. So not that long ago. But which also doesn't really make the most sense. It would really make sense if they did the 80s House and then the 90s House, but who the fuck knows? I'm not a producer at MTV. Rich, what is your game of the week?
Well, I did not know that there was a 90s House, so guess what my game is?
Oh no.
I'm a brilliant TV producer. Okay. So the equivalent of doing the 70s House in 2005 right now would be the 1996 House. Woo! The Atlanta Olympics, Bill Clinton's second term, other things.
I have great hopes for him.
Ted Kaczynski.
Nothing wrong's going to happen.
Oh, man. Right. Speaking of the Atlanta Olympics, I call my vape pen Richard Jewell.
No! Oh, don't do that. It's full of nails. Okay. Anyways, this is like... Man, we're off the fucking rails on this one. Okay. God damn it. I have ADHD. You can't do this to me. Okay. Oh, God. All right. Fuck you guys. All right.
Game over.
That's the game. Just fuck us.
All right. What would be the hustle alarm of 1996 would, of course, be the Macarena. But what other song would you be allowed to listen to? A, Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba. B, Ironic by Alanis Morissette. C, I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy and Faith Evans. Or D, Wannabe by the Spice Girls.
God, that's a weird noise that I just made.
Good thing this is not a podcast.
I'm going to say Ironic by Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm gonna say it's Alanis as well. I think that like Spice Girls were a little bit later, as was
Yeah, I think Spice
Chumbawamba's
Girls was like
Dumb Thinking.
1997.
And I don't know if Biggie was dead yet, so I'm gonna say it's Alanis.
Yeah, you guys are correct. Tupac was shot in 96, I think, but he was still alive. I don't know who died first. Yeah. Tub Thumping was 97. I'll Be Missing You was 97. Wannabe was 97.
Do you guys know who the backing band for Alanis on that record is?
It's Flea and Taylor Hawkins.
And Dave Navarro.
And Dave Navarro.
Yeah, that's why that song rips so fucking hard.
If you ever like get to hear like an isolated bass on that song or on the Alanis album, it is bananas. Flea is a crazy person. All right. The 1996 house would be equipped with everything below except A, a Palm Pilot, B, a flip phone, C, a Nintendo 64, or D, Beanie Babies.
Palm Pilot, flip phone,
Nintendo 64, and Beanie Babies.
Beanie Babies?
Yep.
I'm going to say flip phone.
Yeah, I think you're right, Max. I think it's flip phone as well.
It is Palm Pilot. The flip phone was the flip phone was the #1 selling piece of technology in 1996.
All right. In your 1996 wardrobe, you could wear the jersey of what team that actually existed that year?
We get to remember some guys. Let's go.
A, the Nashville Predators. B, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. C, the Atlanta Thrashers. D, Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm going to say D, the Jaguars.
So it was the Predators, the Jaguars, the Tampa Bay
Devil
Rays, and then what was the last one, Rich?
Atlanta Thrashers.
I'm going to say the Rays.
It is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well done, Max.
Oh.
Duval.
And that's it for the Night Game of the Week. Thank you guys for playing 1996 House.
That was awesome. Well, our flight is coming to a land. We are returning back to the year 2023. But before we do so, 2 quick questions for each of you. Would you continue watching the show based off of the pilot? And second, do you think that there should be a early aughts house? Maybe an 80s house? How are we rebooting this? I mean...
1860s house.
Who's in? Let me make a call so I can make my jump to stardom. Max, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are no. This pilot did not make me want to watch more. You guys want to know who wins?
No, I don't care.
Yeah, spoil it. Spoiler house.
It's Andrew. He goes from first elimination ceremony to winning the whole thing. Congratulations, Andrew.
Wow.
Now you don't have to watch the 70's house.
Wow.
He got scared straight. He was like, oh no.
No, different show, Jeff.
No, I don't think this could be made today. I don't. No, just no. I don't even need to explain it. Just no on all fronts.
Rich, what about you?
I'd love to see a meltdown of kids right now having to just not use their iPad right now, like for a little bit. It'd be satisfying to me as a millennial just to see that little bit of torture, but I don't think it would be a good TV.
And yeah, for me, like, I'm not gonna lie, I did sort of enjoy this pilot. I thought it was good enough, but like, I'm not gonna watch more of it. I enjoyed watching teens freak out that they couldn't use their cell phones and seeing the fashion and stuff. I think I enjoyed this more as a peek back into like the year 2004 than I did for the purpose of this show, if that makes sense. And I enjoyed seeing Bill Dwyer and I enjoyed seeing Natasha Leggero, but I did not enjoy anything else about this show because I think the construct of it is sort of like faulty, right? Like, we didn't even see how these kids screwed up when they screwed up. Like, that is the biggest red flag as far as television production I could ever say of like, you didn't show the thing that we're trying to figure out what they did wrong. Like, I cannot state that enough. And Adam Lee, congrats on your success as a whole. I don't know how this was your launching pad.
God, I love a pivot.
As far as like,
yeah, but like if you're listening, to this, and you need
Adam,
anyone.
if you're listening and you want to, sponsor a podcast, and you're just
give us writing jobs.
You're a fan of 3 good-looking Jewish guys, then give us a call. We're happy to work on whatever show you're thinking about right now. But as far as rebooting this, you could if I could actually see this being a really fun YouTube one-off series, in all honesty, where you get kids, stuff like that.
Go
it's
older.
Low enough budget that we could see something I'd love to see a bunch of iPad kids being told that they couldn't use an iPad for a day. That'd be the funniest fucking thing in the world. So maybe you make this into a small, short, one-off episode series, but I don't need to watch it ever
Meltdown
again.
House.
With all that being said, as we have returned to the year 2023 and our flight has officially come to a land, where can we find you two gentlemen?
Oh, you can catch me around that fondue pot, baby, and on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
You can catch me doing the hustle. Also on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. And you can catch original sketch comedy by me and Max Singer over at Dadwagon Comedy on TikTok.
And you can find me trying to figure out what Bill Dwyer's up to these days. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. You can find the TV Pilot's License anywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We release new episodes every Thursday, so make sure to subscribe and check out what we have coming out. If you have a question for the show, you want to become a frequent flyer, make sure to shoot us an email at tvpilotslicense@gmail.com or give us a call at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for sneak previews of some of our upcoming episodes, but with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again. And until then, do the hustle.
Oh, Jesus Christ.